The night was thick with shadows, the moon hidden behind a curtain of ominous clouds. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, the hum of the engine providing the only comfort in the desolate darkness that surrounded me. I was alone on a desolate stretch of highway, my headlights cutting through the inky blackness like a feeble knife through thick fog. I glanced at the clock on the dashboard, 3 hours a.m. I cursed myself for taking this shortcut through the remote countryside, convinced it would save me time on my long drive home. The road seemed to stretch endlessly, winding through dense woods that whispered secrets in the rustling leaves. I tried to shake off the unease settling in the pit of my stomach, blaming it on fatigue and the eerie silence that clung to the night. My eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, catching a fleeting glimpse of something in the darkness behind me. My heart skipped a beat as I strained to see what it was, but there was nothing there. Just the emptiness of the road fading into obscurity. I shook my head, chiding myself for letting my imagination run wild. Maybe it was just exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. As the miles passed, the road became increasingly treacherous. The asphalt was cracked and uneven, a labyrinth of potholes waiting to devour unsuspecting tires. I pressed on, determined to reach the familiar lights of civilization. But the air inside the car grew heavy, and an unsettling chill permeated the cabin. A sudden movement in the trees to my left caught my attention. My eyes strained to see through the darkness, but the night was an impenetrable cloak. The feeling of being watched crawled up my spine, and I accelerated, desperate to put distance between myself and whatever unseen eyes lingered in the shadows. The road ahead narrowed, twisting through the heart of the woods like a serpent on the prowl. My headlights flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced along the trees. Panic bubbled within me, and I considered turning back, but the idea of retracing my steps through the ominous darkness was equally terrifying. The road began to ascend, climbing higher into the hills. The isolation weighed on me, the silence broken only by the hum of the engine and the distant hooting of an owl. I glanced at the fuel gauge, praying I had enough gas to carry me through this desolate landscape. The last thing I wanted was to be stranded in the heart of nowhere. As I rounded a bend, the headlights caught something on the side of the road. A dilapidated sign barely visible in the dim glow, its message nearly erased by time and weather. "Welcome to Ravenswood," it read. The letters faded and foreboding. My unease deepened, the name sending shivers down my spine. The road now snaked through the heart of Ravenswood, the towering trees casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach out and grab at my car. The air grew colder, and an otherworldly mist slithered across the road, distorting my vision. My hands tightened on the steering wheel as I navigated the winding path, the dense fog threatening to swallow me whole. Suddenly, the headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. I slammed on the brakies, the tires screeching in protest. My heart pounded as I stared at the silhouette, barely discernible through the mist. A chill swept through me as the figure slowly turned to face me. It was a woman, her eyes hollow and vacant. Her pale, tattered dress clung to her emaciated frame. Panic seized me and I fumbled for my phone to call for help. But as the screen illuminated, I saw there was no signal. I was alone, surrounded by the ghostly presence of Ravenswood. The woman began to move towards the car, her movements unnatural and disjointed. A guttural moan escaped her lips, and the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I shifted into reverse, my tires spinning in the damp gravel as I tried to retreat from the haunting figure. As I backed away, the mist thickened, swallowing the woman and distorting her form. Panic surged through me, urging me to flee this cursed place. I slammed the car into drive and sped through the ghostly landscape, the trees closing in around me like gnarled fingers. I dared not look back, the fear of what might be lurking in the shadows too great. The road twisted and turned, a labyrinth of despair that seemed to have no end. My breath hitched as the gas gauge inched toward empty, the engine sputtering with each passing mile. Just as I thought I couldn't endure the terror any longer, the trees began to thin and the fog lifted. The night surrendered its grip, and I found myself on the outskirts of Ravenswood. The dilapidated houses loomed like silent sentinels, their windows shattered and lifeless. I drove through the abandoned streets, the echo of my own heartbeat the only sound. The town was frozen in time, a macabre museum of forgotten lives. I felt a strange compulsion to explore, to uncover the mysteries that clung to Ravenswood like a haunting fog. But reason prevailed, and I accelerated out of the town, leaving the eerie silence behind. The road stretched ahead, now familiar as it wound its way through the desolate countryside. The first light of dawn began to break on the horizon, dispelling the shadows that clung to the night. As the sun's rays banished the darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that Ravenswood lingered in the recesses of my mind, a place forgotten by time, haunted by the echoes of a past that refused to be silenced. And as I drove away, I couldn't help but glance in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the misty figure of the woman standing at the edge of the woods, a silent sentinel in the realm of the forgotten.